Barrett, President Clinton appears hundreds of times in the Epstein files. He's mentioned in multiple email correspondence between Epstein and his associates. There are several pictures of Clinton in these files with Epstein. There's one in a hot tub with someone who is redacted, another picture in a pool with Ghislaine Maxwell and another woman. We know Clinton took several flights on Epstein's private jet, and of course there was the birthday book, and the former president's name appears in that. The former president has denied any wrongdoing, and none of those mentions implicate Clinton and Epstein's crimes. If you were in the room, what would you focus on? What would you ask the former president?
Yeah, I mean, this should be a very different deposition than the one yesterday, simply because, as you pointed out, former President Clinton actually had a relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. He knew him, and he certainly has been named, obviously not implicated in any crimes, but named repeatedly in the Epstein files. So if I was in the room asking questions, I would do what any good prosecutor would do. I would go to the documents. I would go to what we've seen in the Epstein files. I would go through as many documents as I had time where Bill Clinton's name was mentioned. I would ask about those. I would ask about the photographs. I would try to be methodical, filling in any gaps that we don't have from the documents. As we know, so many of these documents don't give a lot of context. So, you might see somebody's name, but it's unclear exactly how it fits into the big picture. I would use this as an opportunity to try to fill in those blanks, draw the lines, connect these things, and ask about other people that he may know about as well. So I think they have a great opportunity here to talk to somebody who should have a lot of information about this. We'll see whether the lawmakers are actually able to take that through thoughtful questioning.
Amy, of course, it's not the first time President Clinton has had to face questions from lawmakers. Given how he's maybe handled past testimony, how might he handle this one?
I mean, he's obviously going in and taking this very seriously. They were pushed into this, though, Anna. Let's not forget that. They did not want to testify. They pushed back for 7 months. When the Democrats on the committee flipped, they felt the need to, that's when they relented and said, okay, we're going to do this. But he has to come in here. He has to remain even-keeled, obviously. He can be a little hot-tempered. He can be a little loose-lipped. A lot of people think that he is the more undisciplined of the two lawyers in that relationship. And so I'm curious to see how he handles that, especially in these very heated moments. And they're going to get heated with the photographs and with the documents. So I'm curious to see how he handles all of that.
Of course, Jeff, as has been mentioned, President Clinton did not want to do this. He fought it. And then he took issue with the format of this being a private deposition. He wrote just earlier this month, quote, Chairman Comer says he wants cameras, but only behind closed doors. Who benefits from this arrangement? It's not Epstein's victims who deserve justice, not the public who deserve the truth. It serves only partisan interests. This is not fact-finding. It's pure politics. Does this appear to be pure politics?
Well, you can see the argument that the former president is making about that. I mean, in some ways, having it be public would give both sides an opportunity for the political theater that some of any hearing is going to have. It would give an opportunity for people to see how President Clinton is pushing back, and also to see how the questions are asked. I did think it was interesting that Chairman Comer said that video will be released afterwards, and I wonder if the former president knew that. It was also striking that Secretary Clinton said she's not going to come back, and she thought it should have been public. And now, they're going to release a transcript and maybe release video as well. So one wonders if the Clintons were informed about that, or if that's a new development. But either way, part of their strategy had been to say, okay, we don't want to do this, but if we're going to do it, let's do it publicly so that we can air all of this in front of everyone, and so that the people who are putting this hearing together can't come out and change the narrative.
And like you said, we will see that video. We heard from Comer, we heard from Garcia, the top Democrat and Republican, and vice versa there in terms of the order, that they will be putting this out as soon as possible, the video from the Hillary Clinton deposition. Amy, we did see some theatrics yesterday with Lauren Boebert, the congresswoman from Colorado, sending a picture during Hillary Clinton's deposition of her testifying before the committee to a Republican or conservative social media influencer who then posted it during the ongoing deposition. Do you see today becoming you know, a political clown show, for lack of a better term?
I mean, I'm curious to see how the president himself reacts to that, to everything, if he comes out and hits the mics like his wife did, like Hillary Clinton did. But I think that they're very on guard. They know that this is a spectacle. This is a couple that has been targeted. They feel like they've been targeted by Republicans for decades. And so they know what they're walking into. I mean, this is not their first rodeo. And so I think that they're going to approach it as that. And what will be interesting is their response to it, how they can get ahead of it. Can they get ahead of it? Or will Republicans sort of dominate this narrative going forward?
Well, of course, Republicans and Democrats say that they want answers. They both have serious questions here. Barrett, Bill Clinton answered questions before lawmakers when he was president. Now he's answering questions under oath as a former president. Does this increase the chances that President Trump will be forced to follow suit?
It certainly sets a precedent that one can subpoena a former president and that person can be compelled to ask questions. You know, it's sort of dangerous territory. Be careful what you ask for Republicans who may very much want to have Bill Clinton in the hot seat, but very much will not want President Trump to be in that same seat later on. It also really highlights the importance of Clinton's preparation for this deposition. He is going to be under oath. You can imagine Republicans being very concerned and very interested in making sure there's, no misstatements, nothing that he says that can be potentially used to, form the basis of any kind of perjury charge or something like that. So
we are joined now by a lawmaker who will take part in President Clinton's deposition next hour. Democratic Congresswoman Yasmin Ansari of Arizona. Thank you so much, Congresswoman, for taking the time ahead of today's deposition. I anticipate it's going to be a long day for you based on the groundwork that's been laid by the committee chairman. What answers are you seeking from the former president?
Yes, first of all, thank you so much for having me. We're on day 2 of this very important deposition as part of our Epstein investigation. I think yesterday ended up, not being productive, but today I'm looking forward to having President Clinton deposed. I think it's very important for accountability and for the American public to ultimately have answers directly from him. We know that President Clinton appears in the Epstein files, obviously had a relationship with both Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. I think for me, I want to understand the nature of that relationship, the context of some of the photos that came out in the files, the timeline of the relationship, and any other information that President Clinton may have in regard to other individuals in Epstein's orbit that may have known or been involved in any of the crimes. Ultimately, I'm taking this investigation very seriously, as oversight Democrats are, because the purpose of it is not to just bring forward as many people as possible, former presidents, et cetera, to make a spectacle out of it, but because we need answers and we need justice for the victim. So this deposition today sets a very important precedent, which is that presidents and former presidents will be asked to come before this committee. And I think Donald Trump needs to come before the Oversight Committee, given that he is mentioned in the Epstein files more than almost anybody else, with very serious allegations against him as well.
Right now, we're seeing James Comer, the chairman of the Oversight Committee, walking in along with other committee members. I wonder, are Democrats and Republicans aligned today on any lines of questioning?
We have not worked together on any lines of questioning. I do not trust the leadership of James Comer whatsoever as it pertains to this investigation. I think he not only does not have a strategy, I think he's been backed into a corner to do any of this. The fact that when he's asked about, let's say, Howard Lutnick, the Commerce Secretary, and cannot give a straight answer about the urgency of having him subpoenaed, that's unacceptable to me. And then you have other Republican members of the committee. Let's talk about Anna Paulina Luna, who took to social media last night to say that President Trump is exonerated. In what world is that any sort of reality? I mean, this is the most powerful person in this country and arguably the world, mentioned more than anybody else. And just this week, there's damning reporting from the New York Times and NPR and others have verified that the Department of Justice under Pam Bondi intentionally has withheld FBI investigations from a woman who, as a minor, said she was abused by Donald Trump. This is the dam is breaking on this issue, and these Republicans can continue to be complicit. But Americans across this country are outraged and deeply disturbed. And again, they're not serious, but I hope that they will be forced to take this seriously.
I'll note the DOJ has said they are looking into those reports of the missing files related to that woman you just mentioned who has accused President Trump of abuse, as well as Jeffrey Epstein. Again, President Trump's denied any type of wrongdoing related to Jeffrey Epstein. We know Ghislaine Maxwell was involved in the Clinton Global Initiative, as Fallon just laid out for us. The New York Times sort of zooms in here, saying that she took part in budget discussions related to the first Clinton Global Initiative conference, discussed it with Clinton aides and the company that produced the inaugural event, and arranged to wire $1 million. Now, the Times notes the source of that money is unclear, but that Epstein was aware of the payment based.
Again, bringing in Bill makes more sense than bringing in Hillary, right? Bringing in Hillary feels more like just dragging in Clinton through the mud. Yes, she did go to some events with Glenn, and I guess that's relevant, and there are conversations that should happen. We have already talked about how Jeff and Glenn use their connections to get into every part of high society, especially in places like South Florida and New York and other areas too. That's one reason they stayed protected for so long. They had rich and powerful friends who either protected them directly or gave them quietly credibility. People thought they'd think we that bad. Look at all the important friends they have. It sounds crazy, but that's how many people saw it. Not the bill, the connection is most clearer. The problem for Republicans is that don't want him speaking publicly. Why? Because he could release photos, videos, and testimony that might hurt Trump. And honestly, the biggest risk for Republicans Bill is that he could challenge the Republican record, which many believe has been shaped or softened by Trump. Bonnie, the DOJ, and other Republicans, we have received some files, to be fair, but not nearly everything that was promised under the law. Now, we also know that some information may have been hidden, especially to protect Trump. If Bill has any idea what that hidden material includes, that could create serious problems. Bill and Hillary have their flaws, and I was a Bernie supporter myself. And yes, some of the policies Clinton supported in the 90s helped create a more unequal United States over the next 20 years. But the reality is, on the issue, they are right. This is a cover-up.